Welcome to another episode of Inside the Line, Real Stories by Real Cops. I'm Dave Rattigan. With me, my co-host Dale Lawrence, retired police officer, and our special guest, Nathan Arroyo, our frequent special guest, and we have another frequent guest, Cody Green. To my left, Cody Green, he's been on before. We'll tell you a little bit more about him as we go on, but we want to do this, a special theme show, because we're entering the holiday season, which I roughly define as Thanksgiving, Christmas or Hanukkah, and or Kwanzaa, finally New Year's Eve. So that's what I consider the holiday season. And if you've lived in America during the holiday season, you know that it is a big time for drinking in America. With drinking comes all kinds of interesting situations for you, the people around you, and the police. So we're going to talk a little bit about what's it like for law enforcement with people drunk like this? And
I love it because my stats, my arrest stats go through the roof, baby. I go from 0 to 1.
There you go. Dale will be offered. By the way, I just want to plug two things before we go too far. The one is InsideTheLines.org, which is our website.
No, it's inside. Hold on, Dave. Hold on.
Inside the Line?
InsideTheLine.org. You said Inside the Lines.
Oh, fine. One mistake
right.
in my lifetime, and you could get on. And then the other one's, if you ever want to write to us, realstoriesbyrealcops@gmail.com. If you've got a story idea, you've got a suggestion, we're happy to hear from you, and please share it with your friends. So Dale's going to be offering some inside points of view on how not to act when pulled over by the police, what your rights are, how to stay safe, and maybe some friendly advice about how not to make things worse for yourself.
Yeah, obviously we don't condone alcoholism on this podcast.
I do.
Nathan does.
Yeah, Nathan.
The field sobriety tests throughout the country are very subjective, and there's a big room for error. And in the hands of a rogue or inexperienced cop, you could be in a world of shit if you do the wrong things out there on the street.
All right.
But first of all, just don't drink and drive. You ain't got to worry about it.
Or an experienced cop who's looking to bust. Anyway, we're going to play, we're going to start off with this, and I love this clip. We're going to start off with this clip. Here you go.
I need you to recite the alphabet from Z to A backwards as fast as you can.
From
Can you
Z
do
to
that
A?
for me? Yeah.
Sure. Z, Y, X, W, V, U, T, S, R, Q, P, O, N, M, L, K, J, I, H, G, F, E, D, C, B, A.
All right. That's remarkable. I've actually never seen anybody do that.
So that's a great clip from that's from Reno 911 on Comedy Central. But I got to tell you, Dale, when I heard it the first time, I thought it was a real clip, and I thought to myself, this guy has got such a commitment to his alcoholism.
Yeah, there are people out there who we refer to them as professional drunks, and they could be a 3-0. They could be 5 times the legal limit. Most people would be dead, but they can recite the alphabet backwards. I mean, Nathan has a hard time reciting it forward.
Yeah.
And Cody even has a harder time.
Yeah.
There's true pros out there, though. I mean, I'll see it all the time where it's just they have it so under control. If they did a breathalyzer, they'd be through the roof.
You work in a liquor store, right?
I work in a liquor store. Yeah. It makes it tough too. So we actually in the town of Wakefield, which is where I was working, they implemented a once a day policy. So everybody can only come into a store once a day because there's these pros.
Oh, really?
There's these pros.
I've never even heard of that.
Yeah. So once a day, one and done. Because there's these pros that they could
one and done per liquor store.
Per liquor store, exactly. Well, that's what they'll do. Yeah, exactly. They'll go all around through town, hit the different ones throughout the day.
They should do that with Dave for the massage parlors.
Yeah.
Once a day.
No, trust me. But what they cost, you don't have to worry about me being there. I'm not stealing money from people. And I got nothing on that. I just want to say this. I want to identify the voice. That's Cody Green. He's to my left, and he's been on the show before. Former drug addict, former juvenile delinquent. Now he's not a juvenile anymore. And
so I guess he's still a delinquent.
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
And as Dale said, he works in a package store, so he's got some experience. Not only he gets experience with drunks year round.
Yeah. Now I'm on the other side of that addiction coin. Yeah. Now I'm serving the addicts.
You're serving the addicts.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Nathan, how do you think you'd do if you had to go backwards with the alphabet?
I'm a little dyslexic, so...
Ooh, good excuse.
Oh, that's a good
out.
excuse. I'm
That's
dyslexic.
excellent.
Officer, I'm dyslexic, so I cannot recite the alphabet backwards. I could recite it forwards, the first 4 letters at least. I think that's a good compromise.
I like how the guy in the clip, how he sings at the end. He gets
Oh,
to
yeah,
the
yeah.
end and he sings, and it's I don't know. So people practice the alphabet backwards. I mean, this is the thing about this. If I knew anybody who could recite the alphabet backwards, I would say that person is probably drunk, because who else, or is probably an alcoholic or a big drinker.
Yeah.
Because who else bothers to learn the alphabet backwards?
No, yeah. Why would you do that?
Real quick, because I do have a quick question about that. If someone were to actually recite the alphabet backwards, it doesn't really mean, if you suspect they're drunk, you would just probably have them do a different sort of test, right? And then-
Any type of, we're going to get into a few field sobriety tests, but to determine someone who might be intoxicated on the street, you have to put together different field sobriety tests, like
Gotcha.
a 9-step walk and turn, do the alphabet, ask a few questions, what day of the week it is, what's your name, where are you? Just kind of, you want to get a general feeling for their sense of coherency or incoherency.
Yes.
So it's not one test in particular.
Right, but the other part of that is that once it gets to trial, and they'll say, and this is kind of the typical defense attorney thing, oh, so you did one thing, and so you rush to judgment and you determine that he was drunk. Or if he does 4 or 5, if the cop gives 4 or 5 field sobriety tests, it'll be like, oh, so you had to do 5 sobriety tests before you
To make the
tell.
determination, yeah.
Yeah, it's a little jujitsu that goes on in court. Let's talk about this. You want to start with, what are your rights? You get pulled over. Let's say this: you're Nathan Arroyo.
Yep.
You've had a light night. You haven't had too much to drink, just 17, 18, and you get pulled over. And what are your rights?
Well, if you get pulled over, the reason why you were probably pulled over was because you were probably showing some sort of, you were crossing the yellow line, you might have been weaving left to right. So the cop pulls you over. And if Nathan knows he's shit-faced, then he doesn't want to, get out of the car and do the field sobriety, because if he knows he's been drinking, more likely than not, he's going to fail. Does he have to identify himself? Yes. Does he have to give his license? Yes. Now, if the cop thinks he's intoxicated and Nathan refuses to do the field sobriety, based on the cop's observations of Nathan, like his glassy eyes, slurred speech, smell of alcohol, they can make the arrest based on that alone.
Okay.
So he would have to exit the car, but Nathan wouldn't want to give the police officer any more information than that. You wouldn't want to do a field sobriety if you know you're going to fail. And then when you get back to the station, you wouldn't do the breathalyzer, because if you've had 6 or 7 drinks and you know you're going to go above the 0.08, which is the 0.08 alcohol content in your blood, you wouldn't even take the breath test. But if you don't take the breath test, you automatically lose your license for 6 months.
Right. So it's
kind of a game of cat and mouse with the cops.
It's a game of cat and mouse for the cop, but his also, you're to a certain extent, you're guilty till proven innocent.
Yeah, but you have the right to not take any test.
You have the right
Absolutely.
to not,
you don't have to take any test.
You have the right not to take any test, but you're going to lose your license for 6 months.
Yep.
I suppose you don't get, I mean, I don't know what it does to your insurance. What does it do to your insurance?
Well, I couldn't answer that. I couldn't answer that.
So I think, so it's not, there's nothing good about being pulled over for drunk driving unless you're stone cold sober.
If you're stone cold sober, and I've seen situations where people are bad drivers.
Yep.
Okay, they're a bad driver. It might be late at night. They could be a little tired.
Yep.
And if they do take the field sobriety test, they're completely uncoordinated.
Yep.
Hence, Nathan to my left.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right, Nathan?
We said touch
How
your
many sports
nose.
did you play growing up?
1.5.
Kickball and.
Yeah, so you could have all those factors against you, and I've seen people with all those factors be brought back to the station. They took the breathalyzer,
Yeah.
and they blew a 0-0.
Yeah.
They did it 3 times in a row. All right, that's how you do the breathalyzer. You'll give 3 samples,
Yeah.
and we released them. And you're like, what's wrong with this person? And you say, what's wrong with you? Well, I'm uncoordinated, I'm a bad driver, and I got a bum leg. I couldn't pass any test. It happens. It's rare, though.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's more because they're under the influence of a drug.
Yeah.
that you can't determine.
Oh, okay, because you can't determine, like if I do if somebody did edibles, let's say, we'll go back to Nathan.
Okay.
Nathan's done, again, 17, 18 edibles, and he gets pulled over, and they're like, we think you're drunk, and he says, Is that
How would
a
it
pretty
go,
good
Nathan?
imitation?
How would it go? How would you say it?
If I was under the influence of 17, 18 edibles, well, I'd see the cop and I'd say, "Get thee behind me, Satan!" Because I don't know it's a person. I think it's a fucking demon.
Wow, you have interesting things going on up there.
Kidding me? After 17, 18 edibles, anybody would.
All right, maybe not 17, 18. But anyway, so the point is, he's under the influence, but it's not. There's nothing they can do. I mean, is there a test for?
Someone's under the influence of drugs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a few drug recognition experts within, say, the Essex County area of Massachusetts.
Okay.
And everywhere in the country, there are officers that are trained in drug recognition. They're a rare person, meaning most police departments don't really have them available. You might have to call someone from another town and they'll come in an hour later. And they do a litany of tests. Very elaborate tests, coordination tests, asking questions. They'll take your heart rate, respirate. They'll do all sorts of stuff. And they're highly trained. A lot of them are police officers who are also paramedics and EMTs. So they have a medical background. And based on their findings, they can make the judgment that, yeah, he's not under the influence of alcohol, but he's under the influence of a certain drug.
Okay, that seems like a lot to.
It's a lot. It's a lot to go through. If you're in that situation, you're either a career criminal. Mm-hmm. You've had a lot of driving issues.
Okay,
you're a complete prick.
Okay,
all right? You were involved in an accident.
Yep.
And someone was injured. Then with that in mind, you're not going to get a break. But like I said, I've 30 years, listen to me, one drunk driving arrest.
I know.
And that's because she had $15,000 in cash in her backseat of her car.
I know. She never made it to my house.
Yeah, so cops have the discretion, as long as there's nothing else going on. The person's not a career criminal. There wasn't an accident. Someone wasn't injured. It's just that passed out on the side of the road, or they're just driving a little erratic. You pull them over. You have the discretion to tow their car and give them a ride home.
All right, let's do this. Let's start with the pen test.
Oh, the pen
Because the pen test, which is done, it's done all the time, but it's not permissible, right, in court?
Yeah, it's the horizontal gaze nystagmus test. That's a tough one. Say
What's
that.
What's it?
You want me to say it 5 more times?
It's the pen test. They take the pen,
test.
they stick the pen in front of your face, they move it to the right, they move it to the left. Your eyes are supposed to follow it. If your eyes don't follow it, the cop knows that you're drunk, but it's not admissible in court because why?
It's just so unpredictable, and 99% of the cops do it incorrectly.
Okay.
Because when I went to the academy back in the 90s, we probably did it for like an hour.
Okay.
And we had some people come into the academy that were drunk.
Yep.
We hired some drunks to come in.
So you hired veteran officers?
Yeah, veteran officers from the local town, and they came in and they were given alcohol through like a 5 or 6 hour period, and they were in certain points of inebriation, and we did the test on them. It's it's so difficult to determine that test right there, and it's thrown out 99 times out of 100.
So it's thrown out all the time.
Yeah,
and yet cops
they still do it
all the time, and then they don't put it on their reports.
Some cops, I got to be honest with you, some cops are just weirdos like that, and they just, I don't know, they stroke their own ego.
No. No. I don't believe it.
So let's talk about some of these other tests. So let's say this: you get out, the cop does the pen test.
Yeah.
He makes a determination at that point whether or not you're drunk or not. Then
no, not necessarily. That might give him a little bit of an idea.
Okay.
Now you're starting to lean a bit. That he's leaning to the left. That person might be drunk. Then you can give him the one-legged stand test, which is you basically stand on one leg.
Which nobody, by the way, this is my next thing, and I've heard this from somebody else, somebody who knows somebody who's a cop, and they say that this one-legged stand, you couldn't do it if you were a 50 or unless you were somebody who practiced standing on one leg.
Yeah, I feel like